Okay, we ready?
Andrew, do you have to have three football teams?
No. I mean, it depends on the state of the wicket as always. So you always pick the team that you think is going to be the right balance to win your test match. If you think the wicket's going to turn a hell of a lot, then obviously two spinners becomes an option.
Andrew, how can you say now whether Stuart Broad's going to be okay, or does he need a bowl to screw that to the fourth game?
He's going to have a bowl. He didn't bowl yesterday. Obviously received a bit of a blow on the foot, and he's going to have a decent bowl today. But we're very confident he should be okay. It's just bruising, I think.
I mean, obviously, having lost his resident, if you were to lose him, I mean, that'd be another blow. But you seem quite confident, and everyone does think he should be okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he does need to have a bowl today, obviously, to test it out. But the medical team are pretty satisfied that it's not something, not anything too serious. So we're pretty confident he'll be okay.
Andrew, given the history of 2010, which I know everybody wants to move on from, but will you and the opposition captain be having a chat about how the series might best be conducted to make sure there's no accident between us?
No, I don't think it's about anything being contrived or anything like that. I think it's about both teams just recognising their responsibilities to play the game the right way. But, any sort of ideas that it's not going to be a competitive series are well wide of the mark. It's going to be a tough series, two very good sides, both of whom are hungry to keep improving and keep getting better. And, come the first ball tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of competitive juices flowing.
Nonetheless, because of the nature of this series, it's important that that aggression and competitive edge doesn't spill over, isn't it? Because the fact is, the rest of the cricket world will be on this series.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, given the history of series against these two nations, it is important that we recognise our responsibilities. But ultimately, we're not treating it any differently to any other series, and I don't think we should do. You go out there, you play good, hard cricket, and you make sure that things don't escalate into something more serious, which is what we do in any Test series against any nation.
Andrew, same question after the Pakistan captain. Would it actually be a relief for you to start playing cricket rather than talking about it, talking about corruption and nonsense?
Yeah, that's always a relief when we can do that. But it's, I think the build-up to this particular series has been good. I think we've gone about our business. We've had two good warm-up games, really good facilities here, and I think we're just above all excited. I mean, not played for quite a long time. It's quite nice to have those juices flowing again and feel like we're going to be tested again, which is obviously all the reason we do all those, gym sessions and practice sessions is for days like tomorrow.
And it's not since you last played Test cricket. Do you remember how to play the game?
I'd like to think so.
Have you been doing anything specific to prepare yourself for such a long period out?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, the preparation was myself and Matt Pryor went to India for a few days, and then we've come here and played two warm-up games as we would at the start of any tour. Well, I think we've played pretty well. I think we've got better over the two games we played, and I think we've reconnected pretty quickly with what our methods are. But it's one thing doing it in practice and doing it in a warm-up game. There's another thing doing it in a test match, and that's obviously going to be the focus of our attention now.
Graham Swan suggested that now you're the number one side in the world, it's a position that brings some extra pressure to the side, but pressure that you think the players will relish. Do you get the sense that in the build-up to this match that players are enjoying that state of looking forward to having the next one?
It hasn't been a topic of conversation for us. I think the closer you get to actually playing a cricket game, the more concerned you get about actually just getting your processes right and doing the right things. What the rankings tell people and anything like that just isn't on your radar really. And it's important it isn't, because ultimately it's a game between two sets of 11 players, and the set of 11 that plays better will win, regardless of what their ranking is.
And on the way to number one, there's obviously going to be a conversation of points that trying to get there. Do you now need to think of something else, or are these players just going to do it?
No, we've already thought. We've had a lot of discussions about where we go from here, and we're quite excited about what awaits us. I think there's a lot of scope for improvement in our side, and I'll be very disappointed if anyone sits back and thinks we're the finished article at this stage, because we're clearly not.
So there isn't another sort of 2-year goal?
We've got a number of goals, but we prefer to keep them in-house.
That talking specifically about what the goals are. I mean, compared to that this year, we want to wait a series in the part of the world, and that would be pretty high on the list from those series.
It's a massive part of this year, definitely. Subcontinental cricket has not been an area that English sides have done particularly well in those conditions. So that's an immediate hurdle that we need to overcome. It'd be clearly wrong to assume that our goal isn't to win those 3 series that we've got coming up. But alongside other goals as well, I don't think we're focusing solely on that subcontinental cricket, because we've got a big summer ahead of us in England as well.
This 2011 was a number of years on the Ashes, number 1 goal, it needs to be team lead, all that sort of goes back later. How do you make sure that the draft continues to point out?
Well, there's no way to guarantee these things, but a good starting point is pushing people to go further, and people being willing enough to keep improving. We all know that if you remain stagnant for any period of time, then other teams will catch you and pass you. So it's very important for myself and Andy Flower and the rest of the side to keep pushing ourselves to get better, and also to keep learning from every experience we have, to keep learning from it, keep it in the locker, and use that at a time that we need it in the future. So, it's all about desire and motivation and hunger, and I'm very confident we've got a lot of that in the dressing room.
Two good warm-up wins and Pakistan have come here a little bit colder. Do you see that this first test might be your best chance to strike a significant blow in the series?
I don't know about that. I mean, the first test always sets the tone for the rest of the series, so the initial skirmishes are always important. But Pakistan have played a lot more cricket out here than we have, so I think things are quite even in that respect. We've had a really good build-up. I think we're pretty comfortable with what we think the conditions are going to be like, but there's always that element of stepping into the unknown when you haven't played a test match with a particular ground before.
Andrew Monty's done well since we last spoke. What are your day before thoughts on playing 2 spinners?
As I said before, Monty bowled exceptionally well. It was fantastic to see him back in an England shirt again. He's obviously had to go away and work very hard with Sussex, and he's earned the right to be on this tour. And we all know what a quality bowler he is. So it was fantastic to see him bowling in conjunction with Graham Swan. As I said right at the start, you pick the side that you think is going to fit the conditions and allow you to win the game, and that's what we'll be doing tomorrow.
And your bowlers generally have not got specific good records for this part of the world. They went to Australia last week, but they made a crucial significant point of how they rolled out there in the field. This is a chance for them to show how much they've developed and how much they've grown to take that.
Yeah, I think it is a great opportunity for them. I also think they're very excited by the challenge. So, they know it's going to be fairly hard work because the wickets out here are reasonably flat, but it's a great challenge to have. They've done very well in England over the last couple of years. They've done well in Australia, as you said. So it's a logical next step for them to say, right, come on, let's prove that we can do it over here as well. And I've got every faith they can, because all of our bowlers throw different questions into the mix, and certainly, if you want to play well against those bowlers, you've got to play very well. So, I'm very encouraged by what I've seen so far on this tour, and I expect them to do well.
Does it feel completely surreal to be here? You're in the middle of a building site, effectively, fixed the dead will blow across the ground, and they're not expecting much from a crowd. And does that make it easier for you to switch those guys on, because it's almost a novelty and a new place to play?
Well, I think in a sense it is. That novelty factor always generates a bit of excitement, because you're not entirely sure what you're going to get. But also, I think there's an added sense of excitement because we've had quite a good break and quite a lot of time off. So, definitely there's been a good build-up to this series. It's not like we're just sort of dropping into it on the back of another series. And I always think that's a good recipe for people to really get in the right sort of mindset to go out and perform well.
On the kind of the crowd, it is like England. crowd can be consistent on Sundays. Does that affect you? Because England are used to playing everywhere across the world.
Yeah, as I said, I think just given the fact that we haven't played for quite a long time, I think we're just all very excited about the prospect of playing another Test match. So, you know, clearly the atmosphere of the crowd might not inspire you or inhibit you, but the majority of your inspiration comes from within anyway. So I don't think it's going to play a huge part in determining the outcome of the game, certainly.
Andrew, Pakistan did better, a lot better than India did last year again. How do you read into Pakistan's success in 2011?
Well, look, if I'm honest, you know, we had our own concerns. I wasn't looking into the state of Pakistan cricket in great detail, but you know, they've had a pretty stable side over the last 12 months or so, and as a result, they've played some good sort of consistent cricket on the back of that. And you know, I think we have a lot of respect for the Pakistani players. There's always been a huge amount of talent in Pakistan, and you know, obviously they've been very consistent recently. So we're expecting a very strong challenge, especially in these conditions, and that's a challenge we're looking forward to.
So ICC today announced that $175,000 for the play. Has the news reached there, and is there any, if you win one test, that is the, is there any discussion about that? Or?
No, we haven't thought about that. You know, those are the sort of things, if you start thinking about those, you're drifting into pretty dangerous territory.
Andrew, James Anderson said yesterday that if he wasn't sure if playing two spinners would work, England has never done it before. With that in mind, could it be used as a risk? And are you prepared to take it?
If you're asking me whether we're going to play two spinners, I'll give you the same answer that I have, that we'll try and pick the right team to win the game of cricket. So, yeah, that's always our philosophy, and it won't be any different this time.
Last
Last game?
week, accounts of emerging rest of really good settlement underperformed international. The man who reported him suspects that it might be right. From your experience, across more than 10 years of county cricket, do you have any evidence or suspicions or fears that this sort of thing might happen on a more widespread scale?
Well, I must admit, it took me completely by surprise when the allegations first came out, and I've certainly not witnessed anything in my time. But, you know, I think let's not be arrogant and just assume it's not there, because clearly there has been an incident, and if one's appeared, then there's a fair chance there's been others as well. So, you know, I think the ECB have provided an amnesty for players to come forward in the next 3 months, and I'd urge them to do that if they have got any information, because we need to root it out. If it is there, we need to root it out, get it dealt with, and move on. And you know, if you want world cricket to be in good order, then you got to make sure your own house is clean first.
Do you think the educational program for both international players and county players is strong enough? It provides the right sort of warnings?
Well, I think there's a lot more awareness now. Yeah, and certainly on the back of what's happened over the last couple of years, I think there is more awareness. But it's something we've got to be always vigilant about, you know. There's obviously heavy schedules, both internationally and domestically, and with heavy schedules, there's always the opportunity there for people to think that a game is less important than another, and therefore they might be able to benefit from it. So, as I said, I mean, we're going to concentrate on trying to keep our own house in order, both the ECB with the domestic game and obviously in the England team as well.
Last question?
Actually, my angle is just related to that, and obviously that amnesty came out since we last spoke to you. Just, do you think that's a good thing? That's a step in the right direction to try and sort of clean it up like that?
Well, look, as I said, I've got no idea if other players do have information or not, but I urge them to come forward if they do, because if there is a problem there, we need to see what the extent of the problem is and then take steps to clean it up. So I think it's a good initiative from the ECB, and this is not a time where you should be kind of showing loyalty to teammates or friends or people you know. This is a time to do what's right for the game of cricket.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Brian, you're still busy now? What do you need? I don't know how many Barney armies are expected. In terms of tickets available on the gate, and so in terms of we got 4 or 5, we got 3 or 4 players. I mean, I've explained it to a few other people. You're going to say, I've explained it to a few people as well. The bottom line is, the majority of people